Okay, folks, happy Saturday. And as usual, let's clean this place up. It's not that bad, but it makes me lose momentum. So I'm kind of at a impasse here, so to speak. Let's get all this stuff off of here. The last two things I worked on turned out better than I could have hoped. Get all of this stuff out of the way. And that's the Panzerjäger 1 and the Italian tank. Well, the Italian tank, I don't have the markings on it yet, which I actually look forward to doing that. I just don't want to commit to what they are yet. Even though it's probably going to be either red or light blue. Almost guaranteed. It's not going to be yellow. Yellow doesn't stand out well. Well, it could be yellow. It's kind of a fade, but I'm leaning towards light blue just because it's something different, but we don't have to make that determination yet. They're pretty much done except for, need an Italian tank commander for that. Come really close to pulling the trigger and ordering some tank commander figures, but I did not. There's not a huge hurry to that. I'm not in a huge hurry to use it in combat. I need more Italian tanks before I gotta worry about that, but let's put this stuff in baggies now that we're thinking about it. This stuff for the T60. As long as they're not mixed in with something else. This says BT7 on it, but I'm going to put these accoutrements here for the Panzerjäger 1. And I could very well add more stuff to the Panzerjäger 1. I just, I hesitate with that. It's nothing but painting a couple little things and gluing them on there. Which is the whole reason I haven't done the M10. M10's over here. Till I decide what exactly I'm going to do with the M10. As far as junk on the outside. That's it. And I need to assess my situation on the American Stars because there's not a whole lot of them that I have left before I got to order more decals. So... we got some crew members out here. We got a lot of T-34 junk stuff. What's this? Is this garbage? It is. Anyhow, so I'm kind of at an impasse because normally what I want to do is work on the British tanks, in particular the Matilda. I've been wanting a Matilda for a long time. I know this looks like trash painted wise, but these ones that came out really good look like trash too. So at this stage, I did find a crew member from Plastic Soldier Company. I cut him down. He's gonna have long sleeves. That's the only thing, but we can put him in a he's a good figure. We could put him in the turret there. So yesterday, instead of coming online, good morning, Jeffrey. Instead of coming online I decided to do some research, and it took a lot longer than I thought it was. There's this document. I don't know how the hell I found it, but it's somewhere on the internet. Somebody had come up with a what do you call it? A PDF listing a bunch of British tank names, and it's a huge document. It's like 37 pages or something like that, and it's organized alphabetically, which is now in retrospect probably not the best way to have organized it. So alphabetically by name, Apple, Apollo, da, 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 all the way, so forth, and it would break down obviously the name of the vehicle, what unit it was attached to, what type of vehicle it was, what tank number it was, if there was a paint scheme, if there's a famous picture of it, and the commander. Now, not necessarily all of those categories were filled. There's some that had many things that were missing, but I'm like, okay, well, we got to be able to sort this better than just going through it because it's really tiny. So I had a magician I'm married to, because I don't have access to it. I don't think I have it on this computer. Yeah, I don't think I have. I don't think I have access to that. He could be on a night op and needs long sleeves due to the cold diurnal temperature. You mean nighttime temperature? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you misspelled it. Stop putting those big words. You make me sound like a stupid American. There's lots of stupid people in the UK. You don't need to come here to find us. You know that. So I went through this document figuring, oh, this is going to take about a half an hour. Boy, was I wrong. I was on it for about 4 hours. But that's fine. It's done. So she converted it to an Excel file so that I could, remove it was an Excel file that got converted to a PDF and then converted it back to an Excel file so I can go in and we don't care about that vehicle right now. I still have the master sheet, but anyhow, so I was particularly interested in Matildas so I could sort them through. And I wanted to kind of do a deep dive into the Matilda paint schemes. Which ones had counter, some ideas of some of the names, some units that they were into, and the stuff with the Matildas is really confusing. It always was confusing for me as a kid, and that's because you hear that, okay, you got armored brigade. It's the way things are. You got to remember, regiment is not a German regiment. Okay, I got that. Basically, the British regiments are battalions. All right, that's fine. I got that. But sometimes you have tank regiments that are battalions that make up a tank brigade, and the brigade will either be an infantry tank brigade or it'll be one in this. It's in an armored brigade, which will end up being in the armored division. If it's the 7th or the 2nd or the 1st or so forth, and the brigades just they don't get any bigger than brigades if it's an infantry tank brigade. However, the 7th Armored Division at some point early in the conflict in North Africa had at least one of their regiments that was equipped with Matildas. So you've got Matildas in the 7th Armored Division. And anyhow, so and then you got some stuff like, at certain periods they didn't do the markings, they didn't do the unit of service markings. So just trying to process all that so that I can make the best decision I want with how I'm going to go about with it. So, and then, there's several different types of counter things. Like let's see, I'm going to do something really interesting here. Let me do this because I was going to ask Jeffrey to do this for me, but I can actually do this. And why did she share 47 photos? Okay, that's my wife. Who's traveling right now. Let me see if I can do this. Let me sign in as, because I need to do this in case some dictator decides to come by and cause trouble. Anyways, we're going to sign in incognito. Continue. Okay, now I'm going to go to my site as a random person. Not as a random person, but just, and make sure that it's playing. Okay, listen to it. Watch a commercial that I didn't pick. What's this one for? Oh, a pro-abortion ad. Vote for whatever. Yes, I don't want to see this. I'm not going to have an abortion. Not to get political. I don't like government interfering in my business to begin with, as a general principle. And I'm not for people having abortions, but let's look at it practically. There's a lot of people that don't know how to behave in this world, right? Do you think making abortions illegal would make that number rise, or there'd be even more mismanaged people? Hey, I'm just trying to be practical. I don't think government should tell you what you do with your body. You have chat guidelines displayed before you comment. I do? Welcome to live chat. Remember to guard your privacy and abide by our community guidelines. Yeah. Okay, so here we are. What I want to know is, because I'm going to do something and I don't know how it's going to affect this. And there is a little bit of a delay. There's maybe a 20-second delay or something like that. And that's just in case I decide to pull out a shotgun and blow my head off. You know, there's time for the people in YouTube go, oh, stop the feed. You know, I think that's what it's for. Joke's on them. I don't own a shotgun. What I want to do is I'm going to minimize this, and I need to pull something up on my screen, and I don't know what it's going to do to you guys. Hopefully it keeps filming. So I've just minimized my screen. It looks like it's still filming. You're not going to be able to see my screen. There is a way to do it, but I'm not smart enough to do that. All right, so we're going to come over here. I'm going to go pull up this document right now, which I can't see because I got glasses on. And they need to be tuned in. Yeah, it looks like the screen keeps going. Hopefully the audio keeps going as well. So anyways, I broke down this, and there is a, man, I can't read this. It's too far away. It's too far away. And I got my contacts out. Anyhow, so there's a lot of information on, like, and this is just what's available, you know. So tell you, you know, I got a lot of names for. So in doing the Matildas, I'm like, well, I'm skipping over some of these vehicles that I'm kind of interested in, anyhow. And let me switch to the other screen. And so I'm skipping over, like, there's because remember, it's just organized alphabetically. So there's A9s, there's A10s, there's A13s, there's Crusaders, and Stewart's. So as I came across those, I decided to put those on there. And there's a lot of stuff that is missing. Like there's, for instance, just going through there, there's a lot of Crusader stuff. There's, if you wanted like a bunch of names for Crusaders, of Crusaders that were in, say, Operation Crusader, or so forth, there just isn't a lot of information on that in that document at all. That's fine. I don't mind giving my vehicles unique names, but I kind of want to see what the trend is, you know? I don't want to give them goofy names if they tend to not have goofy names, okay? Just to kind of see what the trend is. We're plugged in, aren't we? Okay, cool. So like there's a whole list of names, for instance, for Stewarts that were in Operation Crusader. Man, I'm really disjointed thinking wise. I'm really tired. That was another reason I tried to go to bed early and then got in bed and couldn't fall asleep. So, A9s. How do I make this bigger? Let's make this bigger. I didn't work on this here. I went into the other table. I can't see it. I can't see the fucking document. I can't see the fucking document. Okay. So the other trend that I saw is things are alphabetically, normally you always hear, okay, well, it's the name of the tank by squadron. So A squadron would have A named tanks, B squadron would have B named tanks, C squadron would have C named tanks, and so forth. But then there's a whole group of tanks like that are G's that, there was no G squadron. So, there's a whole list of here that are Matildas from the 7th Royal Tank Regiment in 1941 that all start with G. Gerlach, Galahad, Galashels, Gallant, Gamble, Gamecock, Gamelin, Gangster, Gaul, Gazelle, so forth. Those are all Matilda A12s. Some of them have tank names, and that's it. You have that. Giggle. There's one named Giggle, or as you would say it in British, Giggle. Giraffe, Gervan, Gitania, Givenchy, Gladiator. Those are all 2nd Royal Tank Regiment. Go to it. Godiva. Golden Miller, Goliath, and then one you've seen before, Grimsby, Grumble. Just kind of trying to, and then just trying to figure out, okay, what kind of camouflage did these have? Did these all have counter? I'm sure a fair number, it seems like a fair number of them had counter schemes. And which counter scheme did they have? Because there's an excellent document that, great, it's on my computer. Let's see, I should be able to pull this up. Pull it up, thank you. And recent. There's a pair of decals. I'm gonna take a picture of it and show you the picture. I used to know how to switch screens, but I just don't do it enough. Let's go back to this one so I can see what I'm showing you. Okay. There is a set of decals by a company called Echelon. And this is a set of their decals. This is all obviously 1/35th scale. I don't care. I free paint it. I don't have a problem with that. And I'll be damned if I can't zoom in. I don't want to order the whole damn thing to not use the decals. I'm doing 1/72nd scale. But you've got some Matildas up here for the Malta Invasion Force with that bark-like camouflage. Almost looks like tree bark. I don't like it at all. Okay, don't need those. And then you have a bunch of ones here for some for Operation Crusader. You've got ones of different ones, but it looks like almost all of the counter is very similar in style. And there were some variations to it, and they make a book on the counter scheme that I don't know what the name of this guy is that I got a lot of these ideas from, and I'm not going to go order that. But apparently, you got the infantry tank 2 style was used before July 41. After that, the official term was Matilda 2, although the older style was still used. Okay, that's cool. I can read that. What about this? And, well, I was able to read it on the computer. There's a photo of a photo. But you've got a couple different counter schemes, pattern A, B, and C. And you can look at the top view what they have on there. Now you can decipher between that, and there was a little bit of a variability to it. So I did get the thinner came in a week early. Well, first of all, I don't know why it was going to take 2 weeks to get here. But anyways, we got the thinner for this stuff right here. For the set. So I'm prepared to do that. But I want to go in I want to have an idea of what I'm going to do first. Okay? And there's a lot of wrong counter stuff out there. Obviously you've got the counter ones that have the blue and stuff, and that supposedly is incorrect. I'm not going to do the blue ones. I've got the colors for them. And I also have an article somewhere, downloaded somewhere, that using Vallejo colors for that. But I want to see if these AK paints are worth a shit. 3rd generation ones. I have a feeling they'll probably brush paint okay. I have a feeling they're probably going to be the polar opposite of the Ammo MIG. The Ammo MIG, I love how they spray, detest how they hand paint. These are probably going to be the opposite. That's okay. We got a purpose for them, These 2 base colors are actually the Ammo MIG base colors. They're not the ones that come out of there because I couldn't get them to spray right. So they're a little bit different. Their light stone, which is this one, the yellower one of the 2, is really yellow that comes out of that, almost like lemon yellow. So we might mess with that. But for starters, I would like to actually do a Matilda without counter. And that doesn't mean I don't want to do counter. I just want to. So I'm like, okay, which Matilda am I going to be? Which unit do I want it to be? That kind of stuff. Just kind of trying to discern, get kind of a deep dive into figuring out, what I want to do without reading the entire Tank Warfare in North Africa book, or at least the first chapter of it. Okay. So I think I'm going to make this one plain. All right. I also want to get another model of the Matilda because this one doesn't have the fuel canister in the back. I didn't notice that until I started doing it. I mean, I like this Matilda model, but it's got no fuel canister in the back. And yes, I can get an aftermarket, whatever, but I want to get it all on there. Another thing that's really weird about this Matilda, and I think I'm going to add about it, is it's like the turret just doesn't look right to me. And I haven't done a deep dive to realize whether this particular pattern is one that was taken from a file that was used for maybe more typical of Europe, the ones that the 2 dozen or so that went to Europe. I think it was like 2 dozen in 1940. But the ones in the desert almost always have on this side of the turret these rolled up like tarps, and it's ubiquitous to the shape of the turret. I mean, it's just on the outside. It's just like a Tiger One. A Tiger One, if it doesn't have that little container on the back, and the whole back of the turret is round, it looks like there's something wrong. It looks like it's diseased. A diseased tiger. Well, same thing. This without these bed rolls or whatever they happen to be. Just looks wrong. Just like if it didn't have the smoke candles, it would look wrong. So, but that's something I can add on there. But I think I'm going to make this one plain. And because if I really kind of want to do it as one of the early Matildas, ones that were in the scenarios fighting these guys. In the scenarios that I have over there. Which those were 7th Royal Tank Regiment. But anyhow, so I got all that stuff that's going on in my head, right? Because I don't want to spend 6 hours on it, or 4 hours on it, and realize, man, I wish I would have read this first, you know? So, but I've got a ton of names for the Stuarts at Operation Crusader. A ton. I'm like 6 or 8 or something like that. Enough to like, I don't know if I use those exact ones, but you know, you can see what the trend is. I'm like, oh, they all had a name that started with this, you know, so we could add some more names because I could definitely see having at least 6. Well, they come in packs of 3s, right? So shit, I could see having 9 of them easy. I'm planning on using Plastic Soldier Company for everything that I can, only because their stuff's really robust. But anyhow, so all that stuff's going in my head. This guy's definitely going to be counter. The A10s, there's a lot of information on the A10s and the A9s. A lot of the A10s ended up going to Greece in 2nd Armor Division. But just kind of processing what is out there, you know. There's a lot of stuff that isn't out there and you need to invent or use your best judgment. There's no point in inventing things that the information is out there. So, and I have fun learning about that kind of stuff. But, so what the fuck do we do now? I think that I've talked myself into doing the Matilda. I think I'm going to do the Matilda, and we're going to do the Matilda in this color. In the light stone, and obviously it's going to be, by the time we're done with it, is significantly different. It's going to look closer to the Italian tank color, and the reason why is because I really like the way this looks. So let me go over here to Scale Mates. So the problem, counter has one big problem. And it's not that it's difficult to do, because I'm pretty sure I can handle it. Even with my slowly improving airbrushing skills. The problem it has is, if you do it right, and you look at all the tanks lined up, say you do 12 tanks, it's going to look like you did the same camouflage on all of them. Now there's some variations, and I'm probably going to vary it some, but that's kind of an annoying thing about it. Like, it's a really cool, unique pattern. Yeah, but everybody's the same. Like, what? I mean, yes, there's variations between them, but that's kind of a lame thing, you know? And the other thing is I've noticed that a lot of the counter schemes generally have vehicles with Portland stone, not light stone. These were the 2 colors, supposedly, that were more prevalently used, and which one was used depended on the paint availability at the time. That's what I read. But if you look at most counter paint schemes, they have this with the counter on it, not this with the counter on it. So I didn't want to have to repaint the whole damn thing. But let's go to Scale Mates. Actually, I don't have to. Yeah, let's go to Scale Mates. And if it sounds like I'm rambling, I am. But it's also to kind of make my decision on what I'm going to do next. Because it's going to turn out well. Whatever the hell I do is going to turn out well. But I want to be like, yeah, this looks great, but I wish I would have made this instead, you know? If you look at this Tamiya kit here, Yeah, you've got. Here's the two Matilda ones they have. Good morning, Ben. Grab a seat and pour yourself a Matilda. And Marcus is here. Um, this is kind of what I'm going for. Of course, it's not going to be this brown. So if you look at the decal set, and this just tells you why I wanted to go in that deep dive. Yeah, download it again. I don't want to find it. This is the instructions from the Tamiya. So if you go all the way down here in the bottom and there's decal options, there's not a whole lot of, this is kind of, early 1970s Tamiya. Here's some examples of some vehicles. You got Phantom here at the bottom, and you got this one at the top that looks like it's an overall one color. So what options are here? Well, this is the marking of Matilda, marking of 7th Armored Division, period of battle axe. Now, I'm not sure if at battle axe they already were still using Matildas, but they did. In Operation Compass, there was 7th Armored definitely had Matildas in it, or at least they're in a tank regiment that was ended up attached to the 7th Armored. And this one is Grampus, and it tells you what the tank unit is. It says on here, some Matilda tanks were called by their nicknames: Grampus, Badger, Phantom. Yeah, I have information on all of those. It's in that article. In the case of Badger, so here's an interesting thing. Badger is a particular tank. It has the little what symbol is it? It's like a little bird, but that's actually one that's in the headquarters company of a unit that was equipped with Valentines in Operation Crusader. So there's one of the tank brigades that's like all Valentines in Operation Crusader, and I forget which one it is. I have to look at the article. And I'm like, what is this Matilda doing there? It's in the headquarters company. So, So I think what I'm going to do is we're going to paint this up in this light stone color, and we'll worry about the markings later. Okay? So let's go ahead and give this thing a brown wash. See, I had to do that so I could focus again. I did all that stuff with this. It was just behind the scenes, and then while we're doing that, we'll screw with this snow thing or whatever. But I gotta get something done because, strong tone. We need to hide strong tone. No, strong tone's okay. It's dark tone. Dark tone is the one that's the black. Yeah, so when I run out of the regular Nuln Oil that I haven't run out of, here's the replacement one, which I think is going to behave weird. I'm not going to be able to use it. And then I have the Army Painter Dark Tone to fall back on. So we still have some Nuln Oil options. But that document was really kind of interesting. But it's got a lot of gaps. But there's enough in there to kind of make a decision. But there's a lot of information on some stuff, and then a lack of information on other stuff. But isn't that the way everything is? That's the trend. Let's use this. Let's use this. Now, how can we, let's get this on one of these grabbers so I don't finger it up. And the other desert tank I did, not this one, but the other A13, I used soft tone on this. I like this darker better because I'd rather use it darker and then just apply it thinner. And then, of course, what I should do today, and I don't know that I'm not going to do this, is to run the game. I'm not saying I'm not gonna do it. I'm also not saying I'm gonna do it. Um, I'm just really tired from the work week. So there's a lot of prep work in it. And I actually didn't want to do the research on this yesterday, and I did. And I'm glad I did it. That's why I didn't paint last night. I figured, well, if I'm gonna blow the whole evening, you might as well learn about the other tanks too. If you do it, when are you thinking? Afternoon, afternoon. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. How about I let you know once I figure out what it is? Well, I'm going to paint this, and, we're going to be painting until about 9. I went to bed early. I'm so tired. Um, so, I mean, I could do it any time. It's just nice to be able to do it on that whole countertop that there's nobody here. You know, should be more interruption free. And just like the first skirmish battle, it's gonna take the first one's gonna take longer. To find where the stuff is, where it isn't. Find out where it isn't, and don't look there. But I need to be in a state that I'm a little bit more awake than now. I don't know. I'm just like really really groggy. So we need to degrog before I can commit to do that. Yeah, but I was a little disappointed to see that there was no fuel tank on this. But I'm not opposed to doing counter. I got all the paints for it. Um, I like the physical challenge of it. Like, I want to paint SS just to kick, just see how they turn out. I don't really need them, So, I believe this is the same maker as the M M11. Okay, I like how that the filth has settled in there. Unleash the filth. But yeah, if you want to name your crusaders, you better come up with some names because the stuff isn't out there. Or at least not on that document, it's not. Okay, I think that's good. Trust the how's the saying go? Trust the method. Trust the process. Trust the process. Be like, no, I'd like for you to be all right. You're gonna be a dick. I can be a dick too. All right, you go over there. Stand still. We're gonna use this. I should be able to attach this well enough. I'm not in a hurry to put these things on stands though. That doesn't mean I'm not going to. I'm just like that's just not a very satisfying process doing it. It's really time consuming. And I'm just like, let's not get bogged down with that at the moment. And I think this coffee I'm drinking is really fucking with me. I mean, I'm not new to coffee by any stretch of the imagination. But we have this new coffee maker. And I swear the coffee it's making is way too strong. It's making me feel like I'm drinking coffee without any food. Short session for me this morning, but the wife and daughter are away around 8:30, so I'll have the afternoon free. Freedom! Well, we'll see what we can do. I need to wake up. I'm certainly willing to do it. This is definitely the time to do it. It's going to be... a learning experience. Aren't they all? And I should have some sheets already pre-printed. I think I made photocopies of them. They're blank. I got to fill in with the data, which, hey, that shit's fun. That's how you learn stuff. I eventually want to do it on computer, but we're not going to tackle that right now. I like to change it. There's a lot of data on that sheet, and I think you need to play a couple times to realize, this really isn't that important to put that on there. They could kind of condense the sheet a little bit more. All right, let me use a smaller brush. There's places I want to get in here, and I don't want to slather. This should work. I want to get that in there. That's a little bubble. We don't need that. We don't need you and your bubbledom. Bugger off with your buggerdom. With your buggerdom? No, with your bubbledom. Okay. Yeah, it's not like we're not going to get other Matildas. But gotta have one plane. Let's do that one first. Let's get that one out of the way. I had a bunch of micro armor Matildas, and none of them were camouflaged. None of those. And the scheme I really like is I like the Crusaders with just a brown blotch on it. But I don't know. Maybe that has a follow pattern too. I mean, I'm not unwilling to put my own spin on things, but let's find out if let's get all our facts straight before we make a decision that we're going to regret. Okay. This guy's pretty much done other than the tracks. Let's see if oh man, we still have the roof thing to do to solve. Well, you know what? Let's see if I've waited too long on this. This is a good thing to... Man, these look like shit now. You look at these 3D printed miniatures like, man, these are awesome. And you go back to these Skytreks circa 1981 and you're like, this looks like ass. Get some water. let's see what container we want to use for this. This should be fine. I'm not using distilled water or none of that BS. Oh, I guess I should open my package. That was the reason to do counter is I want to see if this AK paints are worth a damn. And here's the proprietary thinner of theirs. Thought I'd known all that, I would have never gotten to begin with. New formula, of course. The whole game workshop mentality. Oh, we gotta redo these. Alright, so here's the thinner for the AK. Now I do have ammo MiG and AK. You know, I would have bought the MiG ones if they were in stock at the store when I got there. Alright, let's see if I've waited too long on this. If not, I'll just repaint it. I'm not worried about it. So let's go into an area over here. Well, I guess I should use a brush that doesn't have paint on it before. Alright. Do I have a new one? I don't know if I do. I don't know if I have a new one. This one looks new. Looked like it. I'll tell you what, we're going to use the same one, but we're going to clean this thing. It's not like we're not going to weather this. Yeah, there's lots of shit in here. So I think I'm leaning towards making my own names up. Okay, you can be like, oh, tank. I saw my great grandfather was on that tank, and it didn't look like. Go fly a kite up your ass, you know. Bugger off then. But like for instance, you know, make up other G names. Okay, like call it something different. Something similar but different. There's one that was called Dreadnought. Like, that's pretty freaking cool. Alright, I'm going to go rinse this, not without water, any other water. It actually really surprised me how many A9s were in the desert, according to this article. You know, A9s are the ones that have the two turrets, the two machine gun turrets, which I'm sure when those things turned was music to your ears. You know, especially with sand grit and stuff on there. All right, let's see what we got. Let's see what we got going on here. No, this still comes off. I'd rather do this than go and paint the base color on, because I don't like the idea of, you know, if you've got paint here and you put whitewash on top of it, right? We're looking at cross section of it. I don't want to like, hey, let's make this look like it's scraped off. All right, let's add more paint to it. I'm like, so you're making it thicker? Like, I don't want to do that. That's just like counterintuitive. Like, my soul dies a little bit thinking about that. You know, processes like this that you think, oh man, that takes a really long time, have the advantage of hard to screw up. You know, you see things going sideways for a while before you go and ruin it, instead of like, oh shit, one too many. God, these look like trash. Sorry, Mr. Skytrex. Yeah, and unfortunately, some of the base color washed off as well. We'll figure this out. I'm pretty happy with how that one turned out, so. Yeah, it's taken some of the base color off. That we can touch up. Unfortunately, it takes a little while for that to dry. 2 to 3 hours, maybe even more than that. And we'll have to come back and add the hatch afterwards. It doesn't need a lot. It doesn't need a lot of wear on it, just some. You know, some brushes aren't worth a damn, and you wear them out really quick. And some are, I'm not going to say indestructible, but if you take care of them and you don't abuse them a whole lot. Like I just abused this brush trying to get the edges. You know, I didn't use a very good brush anyways. This is like a craft brush anyways. But like this one that I'm using for the fine details is the one I've used for, I want to say a couple years now. And it's still solid. But I'm really careful with it. And I'm not putting a lot of pressure on it either. So you can't spend that amount of time on everything though, or you wouldn't get anything done. But see, this is why I can't play with Mitch. Because, like, okay, I have free time. Oh, well, this is like his busiest work day. I'm like, have a normal schedule, dude. So I've got to basically game when it works for me and, screw everybody else. At least to get this stuff off the ground. And honestly, I'm pretty tired of coordinating stuff. By the time the weekend goes, I'm like, what are we gonna do? I'm like, just fucking let anything happen. I don't care. Because I'm just like tired of doing all kinds of coordinating plans. 'Cause that's what I'm doing Monday through Friday all the time, and they all go south frequently. There's nothing I can do about it. Imagine if I didn't plan; it'd probably be even worse. I know it would be, but so we just want to wing the gaming. Now, I'm not playing with enough stuff to really make it interesting for another person, anyways. This is just an exercise. Like, hey, you want to come over and game? Yeah, what are you doing? Well, I'm doing a. You're going to play a Panzerjäger, and if you are, you're just going to sit there and shoot with things. I'm like, okay, well, that's exciting, you know? I was talking to somebody the other day. They called me for a painting advice. This is somebody that I know physically. I know them in person, not virtually. And I was telling them about gaming. I say, I haven't gamed face to face in a while, and I don't really miss it. And like, well, my stress relief is gaming, is what they said. And I'm like, it isn't for me. This is what I need to do to get through the day. The gaming, I could play something else to get my gaming out. It's not that I don't want to be social. It's just that I don't want to spend that much time coordinating it and then it fall apart. So I saw a picture of one of these actually in this scheme. I came across it by accident today in 1/35th scale. Somebody selling a painted version of it. It looks really good. And I'm sitting here thinking, man, mine would look better if the model was better. Because this is not a very good model. It was not a model at all. But I don't mind finishing these up. But some of the like the BP cast, they're just going to be cast aside for now. I think we need to put that away. I'll be right back. But if I had to guess, I probably would say yes, I am going to do the scenario today. I don't know what time. It'll definitely be afternoon, after 12, for sure. I don't know how much prep time it's going to take me. Probably a couple hours. And I need to test something. do that right now while I'm thinking about it. Oh, here we go. Here we go, fucking it up. I might. And I might just give it that one little bit of panache that it needs. Now, what do we have that's relatively dark? Let's use one of these. Hoping I have a bigger one, but gonna look at. Got to go this morning to cook an early breakfast. Man, you need a housemaid. Hey, you take care of all that stuff. I'm over here painting. I don't need a whole lot of this. I do need a smaller brush though. Like that little one I was just using. Even something like this. Let's clean this thing out well. Just give everybody Lunchables. Done. It reminds me of the first job that I worked at when I worked at the grocery store back in the 80s. $16 old or something like that. Like lunch break, what'd I get? Big old thing of Sunny Delight Lunchables. That was before I was a caffeine whore. Now I'm a caffeine whore. Like, oh, there's no caffeine in that. This might be too small. We'll find out in a second. I want to get this almost all the way off. Now, yep. I haven't done this stuff before, but I got a clue. I got a fucking clue. Yep. It was like missing a dimension. Yep. Different paint schemes call for different methods sometimes. I don't want to hit the edges like I normally do, but I need to make some of this stuff stand out a little bit more. And you come in and be like, hey, I wish this really had a little bit more snow on there, so post that on there. Put that on there. Ever so subtly. There's not a whole lot of details on this thing to begin with, so you don't need to have those details just like hide. I hate that all these tanks have like the little pod here for the radio. They didn't carry radios. These little areas where the paint had rubbed off, where I rubbed it off, I'm going to come in here and add some more in those particular areas. And I don't know what we're doing down here. I'm going to have to punt on that. I'd like to pick up some of that AK Winterizer and mess with that. But I don't have it yet. And I don't feel like buying something else right now. I'm going to go ahead and give this a little bit of a frosty appearance on the tracks, though. Even if it's just lightly. Ever so lightly. Yeah, I think that looks good. And then we may end up going over this with something else if we want it to look really mushy or something like that. Kind of mud bogged. Jeffrey, I don't know if you're still on here. I know you're a big fan of Kelly's Heroes. So let's say Kelly's Heroes was never invented. What would be your other Kelly's Heroes movie? What would be your other fallback movie? The problem with World War II stuff is I kind of want to watch it if my daughter's not here because it's like an opportunity to watch it with her. And there's so many inappropriate things out on TV. Watching a good old fashioned punch Nazi movie just sounds like a lot safer, than something that's has inappropriate humor or something like that. Yeah, but it's violence. Well, you got to stand up to some people. Where Eagles Dare, followed by The Eagle Has Landed. So I've only seen Where Eagles Dare once. The Eagle Has Landed, definitely like that movie. Definitely like that movie. Eagles Dare, I've only seen it one time. I tried watching the Force 10 from Navarone about a year ago or two ago, and I just couldn't watch it. It was just too. Unpopular opinion coming. Well, maybe it isn't an unpopular opinion. I don't think Harrison Ford's a very good actor. He's good at what he does. His two or three characters, he does a really good job of that. He just doesn't have a very good range. He's just like, can I get back to like building something out of wood because he was a carpenter, right? And I like Harrison Ford. Don't get me wrong, but he's just not a very good actor when it comes to some things. I have a soft spot for The Bridger of Morgan. Ooh, I need to watch that one again. I've only seen it once. That's in that time period where I think that's one of the ones that's in a time period where when there was Germans being shown, they spoke German. They don't do that anymore. They don't speak German anymore. They might say a couple words, but as a general rule, they'll. But back then, it's like you're going to speak German, and they might subtitle it. Inspired one of your earliest scenarios, the assault on the farmhouse by the squad using the half track. Well, damn it! Now I got to watch that. Okay, cool. Well, I got to master this snow, and I will, because I'm going to do my King Tiger in. I'm going to winterize my King Tiger. Not tremendously, but say like this. Okay? You can still see the bottom color. We're still going to three-tone it. But we got to figure we're going to put some Hessler looking dude in there. I didn't realize that movie when I was a kid. It was so universally disliked. I don't think it's terrible. I mean, I'm not learning history from it. And, like, it's got an accurate tanks. Every movie had an accurate tanks when I grew up. Every movie. At least they made the German tanks bigger. At least they didn't put a freaking Iron Cross on an Israeli tank. Like, that's just bad form. That's really, really bad form. I'm I'm feeling a lot better about this thing than I was 30 minutes ago. It's not that I don't need it, but I just I got to put my own spin on it. I got to put my own like need a little bit more seasoning over here kind of thing. Sazon. We need some sazon. And I really like using the airbrush more for the challenge than anything else. I'm so much better with this than an airbrush. But it's just a challenge. Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with that coffee, man. That coffee just I'm starting to like feel better now, but you would think I never had caffeine. No, I'm like a pro level drinker, but maybe there's cocaine in that. Traces of cocaine or something. Well, if that's what cocaine makes you feel like, I never want to do it. The Navarone books are a lot better than the films. The stories are set mere days apart, which makes the second film great, in my opinion. Yeah, well, I never finished the second one. The first one's a classic. The first one's like, I watched it over and over and over again. Well, in that time period, you had to watch what was on TV. And TBS would always play Guns and Navarone. And Battle of the Bulge. They played those two. All the time. That's why I never saw Rat Patrol. It wasn't on. I saw like one episode of Blah Blah Black Sheep. Maybe two. It wasn't on. I totally would have watched that stuff. What am I stuck watching? Fucking Lost in Space instead. I don't give a shit about space shit. Honestly, I tried watching. I think there's Rat Patrol on YouTube, and I watched like 2 episodes of it, maybe a couple years ago, and I'm like, it's too late to watch this. This is one of these things that's great because you appreciate it as a kid, and it brings back fond memories. But to watch it for the first time now, like, nah, we'll pass. Okay. Honestly, that looks pretty fucking good. Now, I gotta, what's going on with this little frosty dude? I gotta get this down because I really want to do Wintergewitter stuff. I really, 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 really want to do Wintergewitter stuff. Did I mention that I really wanted to do it? People love to do Kursk. I'd rather do Wintergewitter. Kursk is too fucking static. Oh, we're nowhere close for that. You're still like all wet and stuff. All right, let's do the black on the tracks. We need to spray. Hell, we got to do markings on that. I'm thinking I'm not going to put markings on a white vehicle. What the hell's wrong with you? Even this one, I'm doing markings on it. It might be small or something, but I guess at some point I got to make a decision on that hatch. I got to make other ones. And honestly, God, I'm so lazy when it comes to adding like stuff on it. And it's not like I don't have enough. Like I've made extras. I'm just so freaking lazy when it comes to that. Did you ever read, since you read books, Jeffrey, did you ever read the Berkut? By, who is it by? Haywood? Oh, we got a crooked spider on here. Joseph Haywood. If I didn't have anything to do, I'd read it again. And like, for like scenario ideas, definitely could have some scenario ideas. And they make a plastic figure of that little Führer dude. Which brings about that whole Dirty Dozen thing. Well, actually, I don't remember if it was the second in the first film, but in the second Dirty Dozen film, because they played that one on TV. It's like from 1985 or something like that. It's a whole decision between does the sniper take out the German general? Does he take out der Führer? And one guy's reasoning was, if you take out the Fuhrer, then the war could actually not end as soon. Like, maybe, but yeah, if you have a chance to take out Hitler, you take out Hitler. No, not read it yet. I wish it was on Audible, but I don't know if you have Audible. That would even be advantageous. But there's worse things you could read. Let's put it that way. I remember enjoying it. Don't read it. Just go to the ending. It was a German penal unit similar to the Dirty Dozen. So what do you think? In about 10, 15 years? Let's try this. In about 10 or 15 years, you're not going to be able to put pictures of Putin on the computer, but you can still put pictures of Stalin. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that, I'm no fan of Putin. Don't get me wrong. But he'll never be as bad as Stalin. No matter how bad he's got a ways to go. He's got a long ways to go to be worse than Stalin. He's got rookie numbers right now. And to think people hate painting road wheels. Man, after you paint 32 fucking Rowan sandals in a row, this is like a blessing. Like that one guy was saying in that. I should have saved that comment. I should do screenshots more often of stuff that I find on the internet. When I'm not looking for stuff, I'm not looking for controversy. But sometimes I come across stuff that's just like, really? Who raised you? This guy, there was a picture of this Soviet aircraft from World War II. He's like, yeah, the problem is never, all the time I see that the Russians now, every time I see a Russian thing now they're the bad guys. I'm like, where the fuck were you, man? The Russians have always been the bad guys. Always. There was just other bad guys who were fighting too. The Russians aren't the good guys in World War II. Sorry. I mean, yeah, there were some unfortunate people that got mixed up and had their house burned down in between. It's not like everybody in Russia was evil. There's peasant people that just want to be left alone. I hope that's an isolated situation where you don't have people that are going around saying, "Oh well, they're just communism is just misunderstood." Well, why don't you fucking try it? You know. Both extreme ideologies legitimately killed millions. They're indistinguishable. I can tell the differences, but they're definitely the same type of thing. I think I don't want to get into the ideology stuff because that's not really my interest. But like I've said before, if you had to be a soldier of either Nazi Germany or the Soviet Union in World War II, I think the Nazi German soldiers were cared about by their superiors more than the Soviet ones were. Maybe not in every instance, but I think, you know, religious nationalism. That's an interesting way to put it. That's an interesting way to put it. Um, I'm curious to think how much of Nazi Germany really is nationalism because that's what I would have thought of as, but the whole I remember having these discussions with my dad and people that we war game with, and everybody's opinion pretty much was really similar to. Did you hear about China telling Cuba that having complete state control over electricity is what exacerbated the blackout? It's only supposed to be pretend. No, I didn't. But China's kind of their own thing too, you know, and I hate Red China, but I don't dislike Chinese things. I think their history is fascinating, and I think a lot of this stuff is really cool. Um, but you guys know that love my Chinese armies, but you know, I don't care for that Winnie the Pooh. What is it that he doesn't like to be called Winnie the Pooh? Fuck him, Winnie the Pooh it is. China, I don't know what China is. I think China's problem is the people that are in charge of China have really small dicks. Okay, I think that's what it is. If I had to you had to pick one thing, I said I think the Chinese guys in charge just have really small dicks, and they want to be in charge of everything and tell everybody what to do. Of course, that could be a problem with a lot of people the world over. But getting back to what I was saying, conversations with my dad, and and people that we war game with, and everybody likes playing the Germans, but everybody likes playing the people that didn't win. Okay, because it's like, okay, let me see how I can do better, and the German equipment is really cool. There's no doubt about it. Um, I think a lot of other people have really cool equipment. I love the British in the desert. I think the British in the desert are better than the African Corps. They're a lot more interesting. Their numbering system's better. I don't like the Africa Corps numbering system with these big ass fucking numbers and shit like that. The British system is much better. Like as far as an interest thing, but the German uniforms are without a doubt the best ones. I mean, as far as aesthetically, they're rat bastards, but they had really cool uniforms. But like I said, I like to do it's an opportunity to make other people that are other armies, equipment and stuff that usually gets like, don't worry about them. For like, no, screw it. Let's make the Russian stuff interesting because it was, it can be. But anyways, that's why I think the Germans are popular play because they got cool equipment. I didn't play games with anybody that you know was some kind of a supremacist or wanted to exterminate people. So but anyhow, uh, but the discussion was always like the Germans could have won. The Germans could have won in not let's not say the whole war, the Eastern Front. They could have beaten the Russians if they would have just accepted the if they would have gone there as liberators. It certainly wouldn't hurt. The geography tends to dictate the history of a country. Well, they got knocked out of the First World War, so I could see a scenario like that could have happened in the second one. The devil always has the best tunes. Yeah, kind of. Yeah. But the whole reason for going to the Soviet Union was was to exterminate those people. So you're not looking at it logically. So a logical person can't figure that out. It wasn't until much later I'm like, oh, they're not going to give these people anything. Like, they're literally going to come in and take and knock out the communists, which, hey, I'm all for killing communists, okay? Now, there's a lot of innocent people that are just stuck in the middle. But the idea of knocking out communism, hey, I'm a fan, right? But what are you replacing it with? And those people that are stuck in the middle, that didn't want to have anything to do with anything else, they're just going to be enslaved is probably putting it nicely, So now I may actually be looking at it from the standpoint that a lot of Wehrmacht people, I don't believe in the innocent Wehrmacht, okay? I believe the Wehrmacht was like there to like get payback. I mean, you got people that were like, okay, we need to get rid of these people in the world because they're a problem. Okay, you got that extreme. And you got people that are like, okay, I'm just doing my duty. I don't want to know anything. I'm just going to go to fight. And then you got people in the middle. And the people in the middle, all kinds of different variations. And I think the big motivation for people in the middle is, look, we got fucked out of the first one. Let's pay these fuckers back. I think that's how most of them felt. Now, that's my unofficial opinion. Actually, that's my official opinion, but it is an opinion. But and that's when I grew up, like, okay, the Germans just want to get back because they almost won the first one. Which is a war that shouldn't have even happened to begin with. But that's beside the point. But I think it's just it's a payback thing. So I think most of the mentality of the soldiers was, various degrees of that. But it was like, okay, let's get back, and like, oh, all right, we freaking beat the French. Like, what the hell? This took 4 years and we didn't get anywhere in the first one. But the people calling the shots, that's not why they went to Russia. Now, there's also there's one guy that I listen to. He seems to think that Hitler is smarter than people give him credit for. I don't know how I feel about that. I really don't want to do a deep dive into that because I'm just not interested in political stuff. I'm just not. I'm interested in like, okay, this Panzer commander went into this town and he went and he put an anti-tank gun here and the Germans came from the Russians came from this direction and he, and that's the kind of stuff that I'm interested in. I'm not interested in like the theory behind National Socialism. I'm not interested in that. That's just not my thing. I've never read Mein Kampf. I never will read Mein Kampf. Not because of what it is, but it's just something that doesn't interest me at all. I'm not going to read communist shit either, I don't want to read capitalist shit, That's just not my area of interest. But the people at the top, they were going to, exterminate these people, for lack of a better word. So but now, growing up, it's like, yeah, the Germans could have won if they would have done this. But they would have never done that. They might have done it on a tactical level. There might have been situations where, and I've read memoirs, and I know some things are whitewashed, but I'm sure they came into some town. There was this one memoir that I was reading about, and it was this from this machine gunner that was on the Eastern Front. And there was this group of Soviet, they weren't Soviets, they were Russian civilians that were friendly towards the Germans from the standpoint like they do their laundry and stuff like that. Look, I'm sure that you do whatever the hell you got to do to survive, right? Like Those guys have guns. We don't have any guns. They're in control here. I better be nice to them, or I'm going to be fucking dead, right? Maybe you don't need to sleep with all of them, okay? But you got to keep friendly relations. You need to be in survival mode. And there was this group of people in this story that were in survival mode with the Germans. And the German soldiers, at least in that, we're talking like on a company level or something like that, company, a platoon, they kept nice with them and they wanted them around because they were like doing their laundry and stuff for them, which they didn't have time to do either. So it was this symbiotic relationship. It wasn't like, we're going to burn their fucking house down kind of stuff. Now, I'm sure some of that happened. As a whole, it was bad, but on a tactical level, I'm sure there was, you hear about that stuff. You hear about stuff all the time where, you'll encounter someone and it's like, well, I meant to kill him, but I like, I see him suffering, so I like want to give him a drink of water or something like that. You know, maybe not to the extreme that the new All Quiet on the Western Front was, which I didn't like at all. Where that guy was like basically a coward, and then he was like he got what's the name for it? What's the Games Workshop term for it? Blood rage, right? Is that a Games Workshop terminology? It seems like that would be. You got blood rage. He's +2 or whatever. Anyways, he got blood rage, and then as soon as he ends up killing a Frenchie, he like goes back into like whimpering like immediately. I don't have a problem with that, like, later that night, but like you literally just you don't calm down from blood rage that quickly. Anyhow, it just seemed a little artificial to me, but anyhow, this particular person that I listened to, he doesn't say Hitler's a genius, okay, but he'll say stuff like, they should have gone south instead of go for Moscow because of fuel and this other stuff. And I don't necessarily agree with him. Um, I think the Germans were lucky or maybe unlucky for the rest of the world that they did as well as they did. But there's a lot of factors. It's like, I wonder what would have happened with, like, what happens if Russia doesn't, the Soviet Union doesn't attack Finland and get the experience from that and get the bad experience on that? Did they get their ass beat even more when Barbarossa happens? Probably. Can they recover from it? Okay, I think that's all of the black that we need there. Since we have it on our mind, I know I'm avoiding this hatch, but we can do that afterwards. Um, they never planned to defeat. They didn't go into a full war economy until mid 43. That's right. Yeah, if you look how many tanks they produced, it wasn't very many until after Kursk. In 44, I think they produced more vehicles than they did all other units combined. And that's when they're getting the ship bombed out of them by the, by the strategic bombing. And like Britain produced a shit ton of aircraft. I mean, just like I looked at it one time. That's why I want to get that book. It's like World War II in charts or something like that. And I'm like, well, they aren't very produced. Like, holy shit, they produced a lot of aircraft. It's like almost like okay, we'll get the Shermans from you, and yes, we'll produce a few tanks, but we'll get the Shermans from you. We're gonna build aircraft. You know. It'd be an interesting counterfactual to think about what would happen if you waited until 44 and had his full navy available. I don't know. There's this one guy that he doesn't put out a lot of stuff. This guy named Dan Carlin, and he does this history podcast, and he does this one particular article, this one particular 30-minute show. It's just audio. There's no visual on it, and about what was better, the World War One German military, the World War Two German military. It's really interesting. It's really interesting. Of what the differences were, and a lot of this stuff is kind of surprising. It isn't once you dissect some of this stuff, but it was an interesting. It was an interesting program. It was an interesting program. Where is that SS Camo Black? I'm always looking for you. Always interloping over here somewhere. Yeah, like one thing that doesn't interest me at all is there's a lot of people that do these Uber weapons. What if the war would have gone until 1947 and these German super tanks and stuff like that? Like that doesn't I have no interest in building a Panther with like infrared. I just don't care about that kind of stuff. There's just enough real stuff to be worried about. That kind of thing. You know. You know, Panzer fetishes and. The war went on. The war went on long enough. We don't need to entertain it going on longer. Let's see. Try to find a way to not get all. Man, it's still dark out there. Yeah, this time change just kind of crept up until you get that actual time change and it really screws you up. Do you know if obsolete vehicles were shipped back to Britain? Do you know if obsolete vehicles were shipped back to Britain, Canada, and the U.S. for the metal to be reused for newer tanks, or was that not needed? I have a feeling it wasn't needed. Anti-shipping operations in the Atlantic with Graf Zeppelin and Peter Strasser. Well, early in the war, okay, I think that my feeling is that the Germans did so well at the beginning of the war for a couple of factors that just weren't available later in the war. The first one is catching people with their pants down. They either weren't prepared or just didn't want to get into another World War One type of scenario so soon, or they got caught with their pants down, that kind of stuff. Like they were busy building refrigerators and they needed to gear up to build something else, and it took them a little while to to do that switch over. And also, I think the payback motivation is big. You know. Um, Another one of those really interesting things. Look how much shipping the Germans sank in World War One compared to World War Two. They sank a lot in World War One. You're like, what the hell? But then you think about it, it's like, okay, well the torpedoes are shittier. Yeah, but what kind of countermeasures do you have? You know, clocks go back here tomorrow. That's when it used to be for the longest time here. It was always a weekend before Halloween, and now it's like a week after or something like that. Who the hell was Peter Strasser? We're gonna name something after you. Who are you? I don't know. Some just violinist or something. That's what it sounds like. The violinist Peter Strasser. So one thing I was thinking about the other day. This is not something I think about very often. It's important, but it's not something I think about very often. Um, was if you have somewhere like in the United States in 1944, what percentage of the male population is not in uniform? And like what percentage of the women are Rosie the Rivetering, you know? I was reading, and I first started, doing my World War II gaming, doing the naval stuff. And it would always floor me. Like, there would be some battle where they needed to bring some British cruiser back to Britain to fix it. And they couldn't because the freaking sailors were on the dockyard workers were on strike. I'm like, it's a fucking war, dude, man. Like, you're going to be speaking fucking German or worse, if you don't get your shit together and get this thing back in action. But yeah, they had some kind of fucking strike or some shit like that. Oh, really? Peter Strasser was a commander of the Navy Zeppelin Force. Hmm. Okay, well then it's an appropriate name. That would be an appropriate name. We'll let him off easy this time. It's an appropriate name. In Shire's book, he talks about the German allocation of formations, and if the French had launched an attack during the Polish or Czech invasions, they would have rolled over the Wehrmacht. That's Rise and Decline of the Third Reich. I tell you what, though, my motivation to buy models has gone out the window, and it's not because I mind building them. That actually isn't a factor at all. We're not on a time crunch. We can take as long as we want. It's just, man, the other things are that honestly the models have gotten too expensive. They've gotten too expensive. Like $20 for one a model, it's just too much. It's too much. I'm not gonna have one. So it's too much. Allegedly, the Wehrmacht officer corps weren't that hardcore Hitlerites. Were considering a coup at that point to avoid that situation. They should have done it. Yeah, that's the one. Unless it's in the Kershaw Hitler book. Yeah, I've never read those type of high level type things, and probably never will because I'm interested in the more detailed kind of stuff. Just like, if you look at war games, like computer war games, most people that like war games like strategic like games. I don't. I'm a tactical guy. I don't, I don't get any flavor from that. I was reading, I went down the rabbit hole of Wikipedia. I was looking up one thing and I saw something else and I read about that and I went to something else. And I forgot what my original search was, but I came across this German general that of course I've heard about him, but I don't really know anything about him in detail. And there's these kind of like these enigmas in the German officer corps. You got like this guy like, let me pull it up. You've heard of this guy. But like he disappears. I'm like, why does this guy disappear? It's not very, very involved. Erich Hoppner. Okay, he was one of the Kampf group, not Kampf group. He was one of the maneuver groups on the initial Barbarossa and the Eastern Front, and he did other stuff before, but like, I'm just not interested in the Poland France stuff at this time. Why? Because I'm not playing with it, right? So this is a guy who was he was pushing on Moscow, and basically Hitler said, you can't fall back, and he's like, fuck this, I'm falling back, and he got dismissed, and he's out of the picture, right? Like he doesn't serve again in service, and he's a guy that gets put to death because of the July 20th, 1944 plot on Hitler. So on the surface, you're like, I'm not saying he's a good guy, but he's like, this guy's all right? Like, he stood up to Hitler. But that's why it's really complicated, because he does this speech when he's driving on Moscow that he's not there just to kill communists, okay? So during the invasion of Poland, he resisted mistreatment and murder of prisoners of war. But in Russia, Hoppner called for a war of extermination. Units under his authority were closely cooperated with Einsatzgruppen, and he implemented the Commissar order that directed Wehrmacht troops to summarily execute Red Army political commissars immediately upon capture. Now, I don't necessarily have a problem with the Commissar order, because you're just targeting commissars, all right? And those guys are total dicks. They're even dicks to their own people, okay? But that's, I'm sure there's more to it than just that, okay? But just rounding up civilians, unacceptable. As a commander of the 4th Panzer Group, he issued a directive to his troops. The war against Russia is an important chapter in the struggle for existence of the German nation. It is the old battle of Germanic against Slav peoples. They're the same fucking people. I just wouldn't, let's say I was a white supremacist, which I'm not. German people and Slavs are both white. Like, they're on the same fucking team. I don't get it, Old battle of Germanic and Slav people of the defense of the European culture against Muscovite Asiatic inundation and the repulsive Jewish Bolshevism. That's a sentence. The objective of this battle must be the destruction of present-day Russia, and it must be therefore be concluded with an unprecedented severity. Every military action must be guided in planning and execution by an iron will to exterminate the enemy mercilessly and totally. In particular, no adherents to the present Russian Bolshevik system are to be spared. So I'm like, not a good guy. There were many plots actual and planned in the 1930s. It would have been interesting if the French had stood up to the remilitarizing of the Rhineland in 1936. Would have been interesting. Here we go again. If the Germans would have won the First World War, would the world be a better place? There'd be a lot more people alive. I'm going to put my money on that. That's sort of, I'm going all in on that one. See, I don't understand the whole. It's a, you know, Germans and Slavs. I'm sorry, they're the same people. But I'm a racist for even bringing it up. Love throwing that. You need to come up with better terms than that. A racist is not somebody who brings up differences in different ethnicities. It's somebody who like generally dislikes somebody. Like, those guys don't need to be riding on the same, bus that we're on or that kind of stuff. That's, not like, hey, you. But hey, I'm not from this century. Literally, I'm not from this century. A German victory in World War One might lead to the same result in a World War Two, but coming from France looking to avenge World War One and the Franco-Prussian War. Mr. Harvey, welcome. If Germany would have won the Second World War, would you guys still be eating beans and toast, or would you have actually had better things to eat there? Here's what I'm going to say. Just pick better beans. That's all. There's nothing wrong with that. There's, beans and toast is just one step over from beans and rice, which I'm very familiar with, right? But I just don't like those beans. Like, pick a different bean, you know? Oh, man. You know I love you guys. Except for that driving on the wrong side of the road. That's right out. I know, because you had to keep one on your sword hand. All right, well, can you carry swords when you drive around now? No. Well, then stop that noise. Because if you can, then I'm all right with it. You know, somebody cuts you off, behead them. You know, so here's the thing. I don't know if this is all over the world. Beans and Wurst. I don't know if this is all over the world. Ooh, beans and Franks. Those suck too. Oh. Ugh. And it's just the bean, you know. Here in the United States, in the last 10 years, I'm going to say 10 years, it is beyond prevalent. It's way too common that and it's always rednecks. And if you don't know what a redneck is, you know what a redneck is. And they have them in all countries. They might look a little different. I always thought British beans were American. No, not here. Mm-mm. That's an ugly bean. Like, I hate baked beans. Like, baked beans, American baked beans, they suck. Red beans and rice are great. Black beans, my people. Lima beans suck when you were a kid, but they're okay now. I like all beans except those in tomato sauce. Like, what the hell, man? Anyhow, I'll be right over there and bring you some better grub. So in the last 10 years, a redneck thing. These guys drive with their lazy ass freaking hand outside of the freaking car like this. Like, first of all, if I'm going to ride not straight on with the vehicle that I'm conducting, lean to the inside, man, so you're not like get crushed by another vehicle. Anyways, they like dangle their dirty ass hand out of the vehicle, you know. So if you carry swords, you can come over and like, get your damn hand off of me. Ha ha! You know? Hold the grits. You don't like grits, huh? I do, as long as they're not creamy. Like, they're definitely a salty type thing. Fava liver? What's wrong with you people? All right, hold on. We got to call the Normans to have them invade again. World War One ending with Brest-Litovsk intact. Okay, the Germans supporting the whites, of course. The fall of Ottoman. You know, Russian Civil War is actually would be an interesting game. And the fall of Ottomans under Entente supervision, but no changes in the West would have been the best outcome. Well, the best outcome, it wouldn't have happened to begin with, but. Russian Civil War is that's a good backstory. Is the British done yet? That's dry. Oh, put me in, coach. You know, I don't like to jump around, but you have to get anything done. I bet that color's still outside, isn't it? All right, I'll be right back. I'm not going to dare mix the AFV color for it. Which one is it? Is it that lemon yellow ass looking one? Lightstone? Yeah. No. Let's go grab the AK one. I'll be right back. It's in the garage. I'm going to double check to make sure this is the correct one because this is the Portland stone equivalent. I'm pretty sure that's the one. Because I also got one later when I went to the store. I ended up the desert stand, I believe, is sand is the Portland stone equivalent. So this is the light stone. Why don't they just call, when I used polyester, there was a color, all the British stuff were painted in this color. That's when the names of the paints made sense. The German Dunkelgelb wasn't called Dunkelgelb. Nobody knew in 1987 what the hell Dunkelgelb was. It was German Armor Dark Yellow. They did, but I mean, on the modeling scene, we use polyester. It's called German Armor Dark Yellow. The British color for the desert, Middlestone. That's what it was called. You look at Middlestone up now, that's a totally different color. So, it's these Spanish people that decide to rename things and don't make any sense. That's why we left. That's why we left Iberia. Ya no puedo más. AK, no, not AK. Ammo MIG. Oh, you sent me something. I will check that in 1 second. Ammo MIG. Counter, CAUNTER. That should do it. Ammo MIG counter colors. All right. We don't want a fatal mistake. What does this say? Buy it at Walmart. Walmart doesn't carry this thing. That's bullshit. Why isn't this getting big? Get big. How about shopping? Need a bigger picture of this. Okay, the other page. Shit, I can't read the code. Tell me down here in the description. They didn't have this set when I went to the store. So they did have the individual paint, so I pulled this up on the internet and I just bought the base colors of that. Why am I having so much trouble finding this? Damn it, I'm like the best at searching for things. What's going on here? Here. Let's go to their site. Okay, 29 desert sand, right? That's Portland stone. And, oh, it's not warm sand yellow. This is the other one. All right, let me grab the other one. This is the different one. That's why you check. I'd write the name of it on here, but I don't think it's gonna stay. Get this warm one the hell out of here. Okay. Portland stone. That's this one. And then this one is light stone. All right. This one can just go fuck off. I got like the some of the Mediterranean ones for Italy. I mean, they're like $3 a piece. I'm like, that place has really good prices. at Spray Gunner in Tampa, or just outside of Tampa. Oh yeah, I took a pic of a hot Aussie next to a tumbling dice World War I infantryman. I sent you the pic in case you were considering tumbling dice for anything. Tumbling dice stuff for World War I looks awesome. Let me take a look at the picture. I really like the style of their figures a lot. Ooh, what do we got here? Have you painted any of those? Have you painted any of those plastic figures? Like that Australian? I am deeply concerned. I am deeply concerned that I'm going to do an awesome paint job on them, and then I will. Well, I'll even show you what I'm going to do. I'm deeply concerned that I paint these guys. Right? Who are these guys? The Aussies? Oh, speaking of Aussies, okay. And they're not super bendy, but the rifle's bendy. And how do I keep I'm going to paint it with all acrylics, right? And then I'm going to seal it with acrylic. And as soon as I clip this and just push it over a little bit, I'm going to get this crack here at the paint, and the thing's going to come off. Am I worried about the stuff that I shouldn't be worried about? I mean, I'm not going to roughhouse them, but shit happens. I mean, these are wonderful figures. A lot of the soft plastic figures are wonderful figures. Some of the TD stuff bleeds over for World War II and have a small World War II range. No, not touched any of them at all. They're in need of a blue pill. I don't understand your poetry. I've only saw that movie one time. You're making me look things up. Viagra. The Matrix. Oh, yeah, that's it. God, I hated that movie. Okay, so they need to be stiffened up a little bit. Yeah, I'm just concerned with it. I'm really worried about it. And I don't want to paint one and misuse it to see how much misusing I can deal with it, What tells you I don't need Viagra? Said, nobody needs Viagra. You just need a cuter girlfriend. All right, let's see. I think this one should work. All right. Uncharted territory. Lightstone. Right. And we're gonna end up lightening this up with the dark sand. Need to give him the blue pill to give him the stiff upper lip. Something else stiff, not that. I really like this paint. I don't like what I'm about to do with it, though. Oh, and let's use a paper towel. Oh shit! I'm walking out here without glasses. Hope I can find myself. I think acrylic should be okay. Have I ever pulled a buildup of Vallejo off of a tile before? Yeah, and it's not easy. All right, I'm just scared. I don't want to put vehicles take less time to paint than one figure. I feel like a figure takes forever for me to paint. And honestly, I think they look better than vehicles because I gotta be careful here. We need more light, more light stone. This is extremely wasteful, unfortunately. But look at this. This looks like freaking flesh color. How to ruin a brush 101. You know, Matildas are one of those tanks, like they're like Spitfires. I think everybody likes Matildas, don't they? Does somebody actually have something bad to say about Matildas? I mean, I've heard of some people disliking Valentines, but not Matildas. You know what? I'm not going to be able to do this. It's too watery. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start adding the dark sand now. And that's going to help thicken it up. It's damn near the same color. Everybody likes Matildas, right? Think it'll be stretchy enough. Maybe do a really quick test figure, that Renaissance Russian perhaps. Then give him a bit of a wobble and see what happens. That's a good idea. Renaissance Russian? Strotsky. Or Strutzy. So, I like the plastic figures. And if you want to look at some that are really interesting, there's a company called, well, I don't know which one it is now that I think about it. But if you look at Plastic Soldier Review, which I know you know what that is. If you look at Plastic Soldier Review, go look under periods, go to Crimean War. And they make a set, and it might be the Russian one. Strelitz. It might be Strelitz. They make a set of British, and they make a set of Russians. Almost said Soviet, and it's like a 50 figure pack or 52 figure pack or something like that. Every single pose is different. That is killer. That is amazing that they would have done that. And they look really good. They look like robust. Unfortunately, just not interested in that war at all. I don't know how I came across. Oh yeah, I was looking at for figures for Afghanistan or something like that. Oh, here we go. Now we got this going. Did the British use Matilda except in North Africa? Welcome, Valerie. Well, they used them for training in Britain, so that doesn't count. Because nobody's going to build like, hey, here's this armor division, never went into action. The Australians used them in New Guinea. Did the British use them anywhere other than North Africa? I don't think so. You know, the Russians got some. Yeah, you got to mix in another color with it to thicken it up. I don't think they did. I mean, where else would they? Crete. Some went to Crete. Crete is something I don't think about. It's kind of short, and it's something that does not interest me in the least bit. I can't be into everything, and that's just one of the things I choose not to be into. There we go. Now we're cooking. Now we're cooking. So a lot of these Matildas end up having these blockout lights. So, you know, you've got a headlamp, And then you got the thing that goes over the headlamp that just has a little slot in it. And the bad thing about that is it doesn't give you a headlamp to paint, which, you know, it's practical. It just doesn't create interest. You know, I think the headlamp is a nice little, cute little thing to go, oh, look at the little lens, you know, stuff like that. But this one doesn't have them on there, so we'll paint the headlamps like they are. 23 Matildas rumbled over Arras in 1940. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. And then they got left, right? They got left. I don't think I've ever seen pictures. I don't think I've ever seen pictures of the Germans capturing any Matildas from Europe and reusing them. Now, A-13s that were abandoned, there was a dozen or so that were converted, painted in Panzer Gray, and used as command vehicles on the Eastern Front and maybe somewhere else for the Flammpanzer Panzer II units. So that's interesting. See, look at this. All I do is just not finish the end, and the smoke pattern is like fucking perfect. Like I wouldn't be able to do that good of a job by just not touching with it. And it's like, it's perfect. Okay, this is looking real good. This is looking real good. And yes, I want to do a counter pattern, okay? It's not me copping out of a counter pattern. I got to do a lot of research to do that. We do the counter pattern with the A-13. And we're going to use a make-believe name on this one, but we're going to use one that goes kind of in accordance with the other ones. So if they all start with G's in this particular unit, I'll come up with another one, you know. Now we're starting to look the part a little bit. All right, let's do your suggestion. Let's grab one of these Russian figures. Preferably one that's spindly. That's not Russian. That's not by the Russian maker. Can you believe this guy? They put a guy on here in this U.S. tank crew that's holding the freaking 1911 in a teacup position. Like, come on, man. Poser. No, I'm going to do one better than that. Good Lord, where's all my Airfix figures and stuff? Sons of bitches. Here they are. I even know what figure to use. It's going to be a desert rat. Yes, it's the guy charging. Easy. Those are expensive, or they were. Those are priceless. Not anymore. Mostly see photos of British used Sermon Firefly in Europe. Well, they use those as well, but we're talking about 1940. Yeah, this guy Let's see if we can find one that has a... and doesn't have a metric ton of flash on them. Okay, I think this guy's okay. Actually, I'm not even going to bother cleaning the flash off of them. Let's see if this works. Let's see if this works. Actually, I should try to clear the flash, because if it works, I'll paint them up. Wer ist mein X-Acto-Knife? Yep. Yeah, they were like the command vehicles of that. Is it Panzer Battalion 100 or something like that? It's 100 or 200, something like that. That had all the flamingos in it. The worst thing about plastic figures is this, and I didn't know this until recently because it never occurred to me to paint a plastic figure as an adult, a soft plastic figure as an adult, that you have to slice the flash off like it's really expensive pieces of ham. You can't scrape any of this. All right. We're not throwing this one away. That one still has life, but... Only 6 Mark 6 light tanks and 7 cruiser tanks made it back to Britain. Wow. Which cruisers? Were they A9s? I actually like the way this thing looks a lot. Other than the wheels are like they built it. Oh, this thing looks great. All right. Oh, we forgot to put wheels on it. All right, let's put them on there. They're tables. They look like tables from an Italian restaurant. I really like the way it looks. It looks sleek. And I like cruiser tanks. I do. All of them. I like them all. Although technically, only this one and the Crusader should be cruiser tanks. The other ones are just slow. When I was a kid, I'd call these British soldiers soup heads, because that's what their hat looks like. That's the soup heads. These are some of the oldest things I have from the early 80s. Why do so many manufacturers have trouble making these helmets? There's a lot of manufacturers that have these British tin pot type helmets that just don't sit right on the person's head, or they aren't the right shape. Like, these are perfect. But there's lots of manufacturers that I'm like, ooh, they really botched that one. I'm not talking about the later war helmet. I'm talking about the standard helmet. I'm real patient when it comes to painting things. I don't like cleaning the flash off stuff. I feel like this is like I shouldn't be doing this shit. The manufacturer's responsibility. All right, let's go ahead and glue them on a penny. Find out where the hell all my coins are. Got to use those pennies for something. What you're doing is illegal with the money. No, it's not. Go write your senator. Ha! Joke's on you. Panzer Regiment 100 had 9 A-13s that started Barbarossa. Okay. Well, there you go. Because the Germans didn't have enough of a supply problem. Hey, we need more 2 pounds of ammunition. Classic figures. Classic figures. I don't really like the Eschi figures. They're like super lanky. Especially like the Japanese. Like, what those guys get fed? They weren't eating sushi. All right. You done being dry? Good. All right, let's get Vallejo Surface Primer. Vallejo. That's how you say it, folks. 2 L's is a Y. Vallejo. Now, in January, I'm supposed to go to Spain for a couple weeks. We'll see if that happens. I hope so, because my daughter's supposed to go, and I really don't want to send her to Europe with you people, and not be able to, She's going to study abroad for a semester, so. Ah, Snapdragon. I forgot to wash him. Fuck me. How critical is that? I mean, he's been unwashed for decades. Is it safe? I'll wait to see your response. By mid-42, most of them have been converted to armor and ammunition carriers. Man, somebody's doing their research. I mean, I like that kind of stuff. I haven't looked into it at all. I like that kind of stuff. Juicy armor bits. Should I go ahead and paint them, or do I need to stop what I'm doing and wash them? I mean, we want an accurate representation. Probably need to do tracks now. But you do have to tell me today. Live dangerously, paint them. The Schiffer books are great. Are they? I think aren't they dated? I like to live dangerously. Ooh, danger. This is just a test to see if this flakes off. And this is why I love this stuff. Yes, there's things that cover better than it, but there's nothing that gets in all the nooks and crannies as well as this. This is like thinned down enamel paint. If I had a microscope, and I don't, I would like to take this figure to a microscope and find out why is it that when you scrape across the top of this plastic, it turns into fur instead of, because that's kind of a bummer that happens. Like, because like if you see a little piece of him that you need to take care of, oh, this one sucks. Yeah, I gotta use this. I should just throw these fucking away. No tweezers as good as that original one. Wherever she is. Anyways, when you see a little bit, it's almost like you got to pull it off. Vehicle primer is great. I like resin based, if I recall. Love using it since, too hot to spray most of the time. I've actually never had a problem with spray other than they discontinued Model Master. Like, everything else sucks. And it's non-toxic. Has no smell. And why? I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I don't want to hear, hey, what are you doing in there? It's making so much stink. All right. So, let's paint the track. We're not painting the road wheels on this, okay? They are hidden in the nether regions of this thing. I do need to find my tweezer because where is that rat bastard? Would it be over here? No. It's not that one. It's not that one. Not that one. Is it here? That's a hard place to find it. Oh, there's a little crooked spider. These are ones I got from my dad, probably around 1985. And actually, like, let me see how much these Swiss tweezers go for. They're like, they're how much? Like, yeah, we're gonna frame this thing. Like, that's a lot. That smoky barrel is awesome. That's like what the 3-incher one should look like. Like, boom. Welcome, Noble Shield. Okay. Zachaken. German camouflage black. Yeah, everybody likes Matildas. I don't like Valentines. I don't think they're an attractive vehicle. And back when we used to play Command Decision, they were in no way better than Matildas in that game. They had less armor. They were just as slow. Arm the same. I mean, obviously in Tunisia they get a 6-pounder version, so that's a huge improvement. But I don't do Tunisia. I didn't do Tunisia. Tunisia. This thing's going to look great. I just don't know it yet. They have, well, I know they had 6 pounders at Alamein. Hell, they had some 6 pounders at Gazala. But they have Valentine 6 pounders at Alamein? I don't know. Yeah, in the 6 pounder Crusaders, at least, so much of the gun is inside of the turret that it's really cramped in there. And they go from a 3-man turret to a 2-man turret, and the commander is actually the loader, which is kind of unusual. Usually, when the commander has to participate in the actual gun firing, he's generally, or every other instance I've seen, he's the gunner. In the T-34, he's the gunner. You know, assuming everybody's alive. I mean, if somebody's knocked out and you've lost some crew members, you do what you got to do, but generally the commander is the gunner. Or in the French tank, he's everything in a 1-man turret. But in the Crusader, he's actually the Crusader 3. He's the loader. I don't know if that's the same case in the Valentine. Man, the Valentine turret is really, really small. Really, really small. The inside of this track is like almost like devoid of detail. Kind of odd for something that has quite a bit of detail. That's the way the 3D designer decided to design it. The desert is such an interesting theater, totally agree. And one you don't really see people other than Brits really go on about the same like early Barbarossa. Italy is probably the most forgotten one. I mean, other than, the Pacific. Kind of reminds me of Napoleonic, how it's mainly like Peninsula and Waterloo, and the rest is just other stuff happened. Oh. Well, I started playing desert a long time ago, so for me, it's always been Barbarossa and desert. I don't care about Poland, not because of the Polish, but because the German vehicles look stupid with white crosses. And I don't like France because German vehicles look stupid without the little thing on the back of the turret. And it didn't last long enough. Barbarossa is just classic. I think the desert is probably the most is the most evenly matched theater. So there's an appeal of that. I think the British vehicles are super interesting. and it was Seesaw. We have this in place so when we go over with the dry brushing on the next color, it covers over all this stuff. Now, there's definitely some rust that's going to be in the water cool thing that's happened on the back of the Matilda there, but I don't like to weather my rusty stuff. Or you could say, well, you weather it and then the rust comes back and takes over. So I like the rust to not be subdued so much. It's my personal take on it. Like the German classic, you can Tiger when you get later. You can include the Americans and Italians too. A lot of variety. Yeah, I think late in the war, the advantage that late in the war has is that infantry can't just sit there and get hammered by something and have no response. You got stuff like bazookas and Panzerfaust that can straighten things out. You know, I think it gives everybody an opportunity. Okay, nothing else gets rust on here, right? I mean, nothing else is the track color. Okay. So this is the light stone color with the dark sand. Then we're going to do dark sand overbrush on that, including the tracks. And then we will. What is it? The other thing that we did? Did we ended up doing some pale sand? I think we did. I think we ended up mixing some of that pale sand in with the dark sand. And that way, the British vehicles are weathered the same way the Italian ones are. The base color is different, but they're weathered the same way. No, they're in the same environment. I'm not a Tiger One fan. I'm not. I don't know what it is about them. They're I don't hate them. They just you know. I'll be right back. Let me use the little boy's room. They're not as cool as everyone makes them out. Prefer Panzer 2, 3s, and 4s. Yep. Me too. I'm not a Scherzen fan. I mean, I put them on there because I used them, but I think those vehicles look a lot better without Scherzen on them. Okay, so how's the Mr. British Man? How's Mr. British Man going? Nope, still a little wet. Okay, so we're gonna just go straight to dark sand, and we're not gonna do this heavily. Remember, we still got some pin washes to do. That's gonna make all the difference in the world. All the difference in the world. And I don't do chipping. I don't think even when you do it right by masters, it still doesn't. Just something about it, just like something's wrong. I'm too old school for it. It didn't exist when I was starting out. You know, this is probably going to go nowhere because I already mixed some of this color. Let's try it here. No, no, we're going to have to add, and I need to go to the store and order and get another pale sand. So let me actually. I do need to get out of this house for some point. Otherwise, I'm going to stay all day long and film all day long doing it. Hey, it saves a lot of money fucking staying here and doing this hobby. You think King Tiger is the best? You know, looking wise, uh, they're just not involved. They just showed up so late. They're not really involved in any campaigns or actions that I really consider interesting. That's the only problem with it. It's a good looking vehicle, and I think that the pre-production turret actually looks better. You know, I didn't always think that way, but I think I do now. Let me mix some of that in there and see if that. I almost have to do this straight. Let's see what happens when I do that. I gotta be careful. I don't want to over. No, I think we're good. Oh, I just found something else rusty on there that needs to be rustified. Lots of people have different ways of doing stuff. There's things that I'm just completely opposed to. Even worse than chipping. Like I'm not going to use powders. I don't want a light color in a recess. I don't. I don't. It doesn't work for. It doesn't work to be able to see it 3 feet away. It looks too realistic. Go look at realistic pictures of vehicles. The miniatures look better. You know, they have exaggerated. Um, what do you call it? They have exaggerated contrast. And it looks better to my eye. This old paint. Maybe I won't buy this. Maybe I won't buy this. I don't need to go to I don't need to go to the game store and see a bunch of weirdos just to buy more of this paint. I didn't say they didn't have a right to be weird. I'm just saying I don't have to accept them for being weird. Like, hey, we're weird, man. Oh yeah, this is. And we haven't even put the fake drippings. These are the free drippings. Yeah, it look. I mean, once you start adding these steps, it varies from what you have there. Oh, too much, too much. Sorry about that. Now, good. They look different. And this is the warmer of the two tones. That's the thing with painting when you're nearsighted. You don't have to be like, well, don't take a picture of it up close because it doesn't look good. Like, I see that. I can't paint it like crap up close because, like, I'm looking at it. All right. Hot damn. Now, to get really excited, let's pin wash or pin line or, you know. Actually, we'd probably come up with a name and a number for this fucker first, shouldn't we? What I didn't realize about Matildas is they're really a small tank. Okay. Let me take a picture of you guys so you can see what I'm talking about, the coloration here. And people ask, you should do a video on how to paint things. I'm like, no, it just, I can't hang out with you guys then. Now, we got to put auto on here. Yep, that's what it looks like on auto. And we still got a ways to go. But I like that. And it's funny because I hated the way it looked like in just the regular yellow. But you got to trust the process. Trust the process. All right. Yeah, this thing's got rivets galore. That's going to take a while. All right, let me put. Oh shit! I think I've had this on and I haven't had it plugged in. Well, this doesn't drain that much. All right. Let's go to my screen, which you guys won't be able to see. So I'm not smart enough to do that. I can't be a genius at everything. All right. Let's see if I can Let's not knock the thing down here. God, this is a pain in the ass to do with glasses. Okay, that's a Matilda. 4th Armored Brigade. Accydummit. Who done it, Accydummit? Got another one called Apollyon. Apollyon. That's weird. Doesn't give me squadron stuff information. There's old Badger, but Badger's part of, he's stuck in with a bunch of Valentines. 3rd Royal Tank Regiment. Bluebell. Cairns. So this is a 4th Armored Brigade. Crucible the 3rd. Okay, here's a bunch of Dahlia, Dangerous, Defiance, Drake, Dreadnought. I like Dreadnought, but that's a big one to spell. And I don't mind spelling big ones, but here's Eagle with 11th Royal Tank Regiment. I'm not familiar with that one, with that unit. And then here's a whole slew of them with a 7th Royal Tank Regiment. These are a bunch of G's. Giggle. It's freaking great. Don't have a T number on Giggle. Bunch of G names. Anything after that? Got some H's. These are 8th Royal Tank Regiment, 1st Army Tank Brigade. This was in the UK. I need to remove this one. Delete. We don't care about you. You don't care about units in the UK. Okay, and we have a bunch of P's that were here. Park Royal, Pasadena, Penrith, Phantom, Rover. And that's it. All right. So let's do a couple things. Let's pull up my, no. Let's switch back to this screen and see what I got British decal wise. Okay. Let's see what I have. I don't have a lot. The Germans, the Soviets. And I don't necessarily have a problem with painting the arms of service. But I'd like to make that determination. Now, if I was smart, I would have put the British in here with Americans. They could cohabitate. I did get some British arm of service stuff. I just don't know what I have. These are stars from Alaran. No, they're not here. of spare parts. Holy smokes. Well, I know I have some armor service markings for the British, but I'm pretty sure I don't have any armor division markings. Well, although I did get those ones for the armor brigade. No, no, no. No, I don't know where the hell they are. Hold on 1 second, folks. I will be right back in a bit. Okay, so there's a site that, usually I don't like to surf on my computer. Many years ago, I got a redirect virus. That's the only virus I've ever had. It was a pain in the butt to get rid of. And that's not even going to porn sites. That's just, going to places that, have sharing from like pictures and stuff of different things, of like paint schemes for tanks. You pick up different stuff. So I try to do all my surfing on the phone because for whatever reason, the phone seems to be a lot more resolute. There's this one company that makes decals called Dan Taylor Model Works. And I'm not opposed to using decals. I just don't want to pay for them and wait for them to come in and pay shipping on them. So, but their site is apparently corrupted because Dan Taylor, it was just kind of weird. Dan Taylor Model Works, they have some kind of exclusive stuff that they do. Like they make a conversion kit to take an S model A13 and make it into the desert version of the A13 and all that kind of stuff. They have a couple decal sets for Operation Compass. But if you go and you click on this thing, I get this warning saying your connection is not private. Attackers may try to steal your information from Dan Taylor Model Works, for example. Learn more about this one. I've never seen that come up, so I really don't want to go there. I've never seen that happen. So to make it a couple of Operation Compass stuff. Unfortunately, you have to go to this Operation Crusaders. They've got some other things on here. I'm a little hesitant I'm very hesitant to go in there and do that because considering that's something I've never seen. This is Operation Compass Set 2. This is, looks like this is 7th Armored Division before they had the Jeroboam on it, which is what they used in 1940. Which, looks a lot better with the Jeroboam. Okay, this Crusaders set has any Matildas in here. Doesn't look like in that set. This isn't Matilda pictured on the front. Let's see, Dan. I've been to his site before. I just want to see what named Matildas they included in there. It's hard to see because it's a light blue backing. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait on the decals. I'm going to wait on the labeling. Let's do some pin washing before I run out of steam, because I can't do this all day. Because, well, not because I can't do this all day. Yes, I can do this all day. I'd like to try that game out. And it's good to mix things up. All right. Let's do the turret. And it always looks better when we seal this, because for starters, this is glossy. It's actually quite a bit glossy. I'd ask if people were interested in seeing the game, but don't take this the wrong way, but I don't care. I gotta do it for me, you know. It's not like it's going to be super exciting, because I'm going to be fumbling with trying to figure out how it happens. But there shouldn't be any infantry in the game at all. It's just vehicles, just 2 vehicles. That's it. Definitely will be after lunch. We're going to do that on a full stomach. I need to switch to this to water. Let's have some water. But this is a Matilda. I've always liked the Matilda. I think, first of all, it's an attractive vehicle. It isn't if you take the sides of these things off, though. The plates on the side, that running gear looks like a mess. But it's an attractive vehicle. The name's not very attractive. But I never really realized it's a pretty small vehicle. It's not physically imposing. But I think it's a generally well loved vehicle by war gamers. Got a 6 pounder in it. This is really tedious, but if you've seen some of the stuff that I've done recently, it's worth it. You only have to do it once. Only have to do it once. If you do it right, you only have to do it once. All right. This guy's dry, isn't he? Okay. We're going to paint him up. Looks like it's okay. And that's a fairly bendy rifle. That's good. I don't want all plastic figures, but I don't mind having some. That's weird about that website. Okay. All this is done. That's good. That looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. I'll show you guys in just 1 second. These light colors just don't come out really well. I mean, it almost looks green. It doesn't. We'll take pictures of some of these outside. The natural light is just, well, it warms it up. This is a cool light. You know what? I think I can power through and finish this guy before I stop. Or at least up to the point where I got to do the decals on it, the label. I'm not going to put decals on it. We're going to hand paint them. All right, where to begin? Now let's start making all these things, all these cool angles of this vehicle pop out. And just because this one doesn't have a counter on it doesn't mean the other ones aren't. I want to mix it up. Still connected? It's like a flurry of activity, and then there was a gotta make that other hatch, that T-34. Yeah, it's the right color now. It wasn't before. It was definitely not the right color before. Trust the process. Same thing happens with Dunkelgelb. Like, man, this doesn't look very good. Trust the process, man. It's not a quick process. It's a multi-layered approach. Whew. No hull machine going on here. The driver is just the four-man. It's a four-man tank, three in the turret, one guy in the hull there. I don't think he's got his own hatch either. I think that just slides out open to different levels, but that's it. He's got to come out through the turret. I'm going to have to take a break to eat, unfortunately. Yeah. Okay, well, how long have we been on here? We've been on here for a while, haven't we? Almost 4 hours. Okay. All right, folks, we'll be back later today. Gonna try to put that game on either today or tomorrow. And, yeah, the Matilda roll.